Today, we're going to dive into a simple but pretty powerful shift in thinking. It all starts with just one question. But first, let's actually look at the questions we're already asking ourselves pretty much every single day, all based on the philosophy of Tran.
I mean, think about it. We live in this time of non-stop evaluation, right? We're always scrolling, we're comparing, we're judging. It's almost become a reflex. But this constant outward focus, it might actually be steering us away from what truly matters, because it's making us ask questions that honestly miss the point entirely. For example, we might catch ourselves asking this: am I winning? This question kind of frames life as a zero-sum game, where for you to succeed, someone else has to fail. Or how about this one? We've all been here. Am I successful? This question immediately sends us scrambling for external proof. The job title, the income, the stuff we own, things the outside world can see and measure.
And then there's the big one. Am I respected? Suddenly, our entire sense of self is tied up in what other people think of us, which, let's be honest, is incredibly unstable. All of these questions are constantly pulling our attention outward.
So all these ideas we're exploring today, they come from this book, Am I a Value? By Tran. And it makes a really strong case that these outward-facing questions are just a huge distraction from a much more grounding and, frankly, effective way of thinking.
So what's the big deal? What happens when we're constantly asking these kinds of questions? Well, the book calls it the judgment trap. And it's this cycle that keeps us totally focused on just observing the world instead of actually participating in it.
So what does this trap actually feel like? Well, we scroll, we compare, we analyze. Our energy shifts from doing stuff to just watching. This whole cycle is actually rooted in a pretty well-known psychological idea called social comparison theory. It's basically our natural instinct to figure out our own place in the world by measuring ourselves against everyone else. But when that becomes our main focus, it's a perfect recipe for distraction and envy.
Okay, so if we're stuck in this trap, how do we break out? The book's solution is, surprisingly simple. It all comes down to asking one different, much more powerful question.
And here it is. Just notice the shift. It's not about winning. It's not about being successful. It's not about being respected. It's just a simple internal check-in. Am I a value today? The real power of this question is that it works like a mental reset button. It immediately yanks your focus away from that chaotic world of comparison and puts it right back on the one thing you can actually control: your own contribution right here, right now. So why is this so effective? I mean, what's the magic here? To really get it, we need to make a super important distinction between two ideas that we often mix up: value and worth. I think this slide lays it out perfectly. Self-worth is something you just have. It's unconditional. It's part of being human. But value, in this philosophy, is all about what you do. It's your practical, positive impact, the problem you solve, the help you offer. So asking, am I of value, isn't a challenge to your worth. It's a guide for your actions. And this idea of creating value isn't just some abstract philosophical concept. It lines up perfectly with a really well-studied area of psychology called pro-social behavior, which is just a fancy way of saying any action you take to help others or improve the world around you. And the psychological benefits? They're huge. Focusing on what you can contribute builds what psychologists call agency, that feeling of being in the driver's seat of your own life. It also boosts your self-efficacy, which is just your confidence that you can actually get things done. This whole mindset has been shown to literally activate the reward systems in our brains, which leads to more satisfaction and a lot less anxiety about our social status. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like day to day? How do we put this whole idea of creating value into practice?
The cool thing is, it can be applied literally everywhere. At work, adding value isn't just about the big, flashy projects. It's about solving a small problem, making a clunky process just a little bit better, or simply doing your tasks with genuine care. In your family, it's about listening without jumping in, sharing the workload, or offering a word of encouragement. And in society, it can be as simple as respecting shared spaces or engaging in a discussion constructively instead of just tearing things down. And this gets to such a crucial point. We often think that creating value has to be some grand, heroic act. But the book argues that the world really truly runs on all these small, consistent contributions. That teacher who prepares one more lesson, the colleague who cleans the shared microwave. Those are the quiet actions that actually hold everything together. So how do we make this an actual habit? instead of just a nice idea we think about once. The book offers a really simple tool it calls the daily self-check. It's a dead simple 3-step process you can use in any situation. First, you just ground yourself. Okay, where am I right now? Second, you observe what's needed here. This immediately pulls you out of your own head and into what's actually going on. And finally, you ask yourself that key question: how can I add value right now? It's a quick mental check that can turn this whole philosophy into a real daily practice.
And that leaves us with one final thought. Every single day is a fresh opportunity, a new environment. This philosophy isn't about judging what you did yesterday, but about seeing the potential that exists in this very moment. So the only question left to ask is, how will you contribute?